This is the New Eden update for Friday, April 1st, 2016. I'm Wiggles and here's a roundup of a few stories from around New Eden. As today is April 1st, aka April's Fool's Day, I'm taking all stories as published today with a wide berth, so everything is currently from yesterday's stories. We start today at Crossing Zebras with a post about balancing player power. For many years now, EVE Online developers have emphasised their intent to give players more control over every aspect of life in New Eden. At every FanFest and local player gathering, CCP devs unwaveringly declare that, quote, players are the story in EVE Online, end quote, and that therefore it follows that players must have more control over production, markets, politics, combat, and every other aspect of Capsuleer existence. Now, over time, more game mechanics have been transferred to players. Invention, planetary interaction, customs offices, structures are just a few examples. With the release of Citadels in the next expansion, the potential for eventually doing away with non-player character or NPC operated stations becomes an obvious and perhaps inevitable direction, in the spirit of transferring yet more burden for in-game content creation onto our backs of the player community. Practically, most players can simply ignore their relationships with NPC factions. Other than gaining access to higher level mission agents, there are few implications from NPC interactions on how players operate, even in Empire space. Capsuleers may freely roam into high-sec as long as they maintain an acceptable security status, or just travel in a pod, no matter how many of the faction ships on crew they have murdered in the past. Unlimited player control does not always lead to optimal gameplay. By giving NPCs more agency and more opportunity to exert their own agendas in the game, Capsuleers would have to share their power in New Eden and maybe make more careful decisions about what their actions they choose to take. Balancing player power with NPC agency would provide more potential for more engaging and more interesting stories in EVE Online, and more entertaining value of the game. Next, we go to EVE News 24 with a report of the Battle of MTAC-0. MTAC-0 EE8 system in Tribute region on March 28th at 2000 hours EVE Standard Time. The largest offensive in the war was launched by Allied forces, leading to a 4-hour-long battle which saw no less than 5,000 combatants for both sides clash in desperate fights throughout the 1P TAC VL2 constellation. The battle was fought over the infrastructure hub of the system, which the Allies managed to reinforce alongside the station. For the Imperium to lose, it would mean making the system far more vulnerable for Allied assets, allowing them to capture with greater ease, while also severing it from the Imperium's jump bridge network. In the long run, it would allow the Allies to gain a foothold in the Tribute region, as well as signal the loss of another capital staging system. Now, with the Battle of MTAC-0 1 and Circle of 2 switching sides, the Imperium did suffer another crushing defeat. The loss of Circle of 2 represents up to a quarter of all the Coalition's active combat pilots, a devastating blow, especially considering Circle of 2's pilot experience and combat abilities were ranked among the highest in the Imperium. Another loss is Circle of 2's fleet commanders alongside its super capital fleet, which are all certainly to affect the Imperium's ability to wage war. Strategically, this marks a huge gain for the Allies, as part of the southern Tribute region has been opened up to their fleet's movements and basing, giving greater penetration to the Allied forces in the heart of the Imperium territory, not to mention gaining more pilots and fleet commanders to carry out offensive operations. Next, we go to Montani.com with a post about Mercenary Wars, or about the Mercenary Wars. Quote, a few weeks ago, players were cautiously referring to the Northern Coalition as potential war. The past few years have seen many false starts that confidence in EVE as having enough energy to see a true block war campaign was low. There have been sparks, but never nothing caught fire. Without fire, there is no renewal. That has all changed. EVE is now at war. Weeks ago, the intensity started to build, with unsubbed veterans showing up to court meetings and charismatic FCs like Vince Draken of NC returning with a vengeance. NC is seeing a surge in player involvement. Fleet sizes rival Test and Goonswarm. Pandemic Legion is seeing the same reactivations, as if the ancient enemy has awoken. If the Imperium is Troy, with massive walls and fortification, the invading force is a mythical iron ox crashing through Troy's massive gates. Now, this is something we might dream up where we see the constellations at the night sky. The current block war in the north is a combination of mercenary wars that have merged into and taken life of their own. They are fueled by years of resentment towards the Imperium, and that fuel is burning hot. The honey badgers are riding high, winning victory after victory, putting up huge fleets. The Imperium is just as strong and may surprise Eve if they just start winning as the underdog as they have claimed to be. This may be very well where they fight for their lives. This too will pass, and will be recorded by those who wrote about it. Remember, those who wrote about it, and remember by those who participated. Eve is one cluster, one universe, with players passing through some for a few days, others for a minor lifetime. Not everyone has to see war to enjoy emotion that it generates. Just knowing that you exist in a place where this can happen is enough. In an unexpected way, by just being part of New Eden, you amplify and are amplified through time and space. When you next see a constellation in the starfield, look at the mysterious and epic, a monstrous ox breathing fire against the gates of Troy. And remember, it was no myth, it was Eve. It was real, and you were there. Elsewhere in Eve-related contents today, new blog posts out from Noisy Gamer and Rick Javix, and new podcasts out from Hydrostatic, Hydrag and Close Quarters. CCP did also release an overview of the M-TAC-O battle. Plex prices in the Forge region today are registering an average traded price of 1,066 million ISK so far, which is down about 15 mil from yesterday's closing average of 1,081 million. The top buy order right now in Jita is 1,064 million ISK, and sell orders are starting at 1,070. Skill extractors are trading at 250 million ISK now, which is up just 1 mil from yesterday's average of 251. Buy orders for those are starting at 245, and sell orders are starting at 258. Skill injectors are trading at 657 million ISK, which is up 13 mil from yesterday's closing average of 644. Buy orders for those are starting at 658, and sell orders, they are starting at 734. I have just had a word with Lockfox of the Prosper Market Show, and it does look like someone did a massive buyout. You can check the Prosper Show, just Google it, Eve Prosper. He does a great roundup of stuff. Thank you to the people who have chosen to support this show on Patreon and decided they get a little bit of value from the show and want to give a little bit back. You can go and join those people at patreon.com/wiggles to find out about how you can support monetarily, whether it be $1 a month, who knows. Whatever you can throw at us that you think you get value, thank you. And a big thank you to everyone, as it is the first, so it is technically payday. So thank you to the bosses. I understand not everyone can actually support monetarily, so you know the best thing you can do? Tell people about the show. Just link it to them on Twitter, Facebook, Slack, HipChat, whatever. Link it on social media. Just say, listen to this, it's good. Give us a review on iTunes or on your podcast catcher of choice as well, and that will help with basically getting the word out about the show. You can find out about all the ways to support over at newedenupdate.com/support. And as you can tell now, we broadcast live on Twitch and YouTube while we record it to go out later as a podcast. So if you have any feedback, you can drop me an email, which is feedback@newedenupdate.com. You could leave a comment in the show blog at newedenupdate.com, or you can send us a tweet at newedenupdate. I do also encourage you to check out all the latest headlines and podcasts and the blog posts and all the other information you can find, including Reddit posts, dev posts and all that stuff on TotalEve.com, our sister site. This has been your New Eden update for Friday, April 1st, 2016. We'll be back on Monday. I'm Wiggles, and thank you for listening or watching.